Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start this one off here with a little close-up so y'all can see what I was talking about in the last video when I was speaking about how Kemet has that green mist, the green mist in the sky in the morning time or whatever. You have to look at my last video to see what I'm saying, but I made a reference to the blue flakes that I had put up in here in the drawing, but you couldn't really see them in that last video, so I went in and got a close-up on it just to show y'all what I was talking about. This basically is the light, the yellow representing the light rising, and the blue representing the water rising from this point right here, out of the bowl or whatever. So get back in there. Boom. So y'all can see that cross. So yeah, I'm gonna do a quick recap. On the Anubis thing. I was almost finished in that last video, but the camera cut off, so I figured since I got a whole new slot of time, instead of just making a quick 15-20 minute video to finish the last one off, I hit y'all off with some more stuff that I come to find out. So remember I told you, if you follow the last video, you already know this, but remember all this was light at the bottom, then this was dark, and you had the 7 beams of light right here, the 7 spears of light with the one in the center. This one took off and became and landed up here. When you look at the mythological character Anubis within Kemet, the dog, the jackal, that would be what his story refers to, this process in the creation, because he comes from this point and he goes up here, and when he's going up here, he's trailblazing. He's making up, it's why he's called Anubis, or the opener of the way, because when that primordial point right here shoots up and goes up here, it paves the way. It creates these 7 other melanin pockets or whatever for these for the 7 spears of light to follow it. So the light that was right here ended up right here, then the next one came, and that became that one, and it became that one. They all jumped from right here. It's called the hip hop. This is the thigh nu, or the hip, the hippopotamus of the hip, with the light hopping to this side. So which we'll get into that in another video, but hip hop is deeper than this shit. It's a reason we call that shit hip hop. But yeah, then when you read the ancient Egypt like the world, you'll come across a deity or mythological figure by the name of King Hop. So when we get to the part of creation where everything's like this, with the 7 lamps up here, 7 down here, 1 Sirius up here, or whatnot. If you look at it from a bird's eye view, or if you was looking at it from right here, this is how it would look when all these are slid up. This would be a rendition, or this would be a precursor to the rising of the sun, or the sun at high noon, or whatever. because when the sun is at high noon, it's sitting in the middle, so it's basically like it's that's when it basically shines the brightest, whatever. And from a bird's eye view, this would be it, with all the light shining on top of the surface or whatever. So and then if you go check out Secret Teachings of All Ages by Sun.Pt5, they talk about the Ark and the Covenant, and this the Ark and the Covenant is basically the earth. It's a part of where they say that the Hebrews or whatever, when they would travel with the Ark of the Covenant, it'll travel in basically the Ark of the Covenant would be a pillar of smoke in the day and a flame of fire at night. But this is the day, and the water precipitating and rising from out of the bottom, following the light, would be the smoke, because this would all be misty. It'd be gold light and the misty waters or whatever precipitating from the surface right here or whatever. And like I said, remember, just a bird eye view. These would be the mountains. Each one of these rings would be a mountain, and then these would be in between the mountains would be the water pockets or whatever. And the water would be as each one of these rose up from the bottom and came up here, the light would rise up with it or whatever, or the water would rise up with it and precipitate the same way that the sun precipitates the waters on the earth now. And so like I was saying in the last video, you have the Anubis is the mummifier. He mummifies the body. He prepares the body for the funeral rites or whatever. So when they mummify the body, like I said, they caress. It's called the caress mummy. That's where the word caress come from. Christ, caress, the caress mummy. CRS, when KRS. C, then you got another version of the CARES and CERES, the caress, or like caress is basically the rub, you know, and you rub when they mummify the body, they rub it with this golden sap or this golden gum, this called tannin gum. So the whole body would be basically coated with this gold sap, and the reason they coated with the sap is so that the mummy bandage that they wrapping around the body would stick to it or whatever. Now I'm going to show you how all that is a reference to the way the earth came in to fruition. So you got all these set up, and you got your surface looking like this. Now when this part right here disconnects from this, it's gonna start a process to where this light goes up. So in other words, all these lights are gonna shoot straight up into there. So this one is gonna go through all the channels and shoot up there. This one is gonna go through all the channels and shoot up there, and then eventually they'll all be concentrated in here. Now once all the light travels up and there's no more light within the globe and it's all up here, all the water that was following the light that precipitated from in between the mountains or whatever, it's gonna rise up and follow the light. So by the time that last bit of light travels up and goes up into Sirius, all that water that precipitated and followed the light to the edges, it's gonna freeze up because all the heat withdraws to outside of the spill. Therefore, the top up here becomes a dome of ice, and then the bottom down here is all the water that was condensed and traveling into those tunnels and the pockets to make the wells and the springs that I was telling you about. All that's gonna be frozen down here. So the white mummy bandage is basically gonna is basically a reference to the moon. The moon, what's gonna become the moon, that white ice frozen over the top, and all the shit frozen down here, that equates, or that correlates to the actual mummy wrap around the mummy. That correlates to the mummy wrap. Then you have Anubis floating over the body, or sitting over the mummy wrapped earth or whatever. When you look at the hieroglyph of Osiris sitting between Isis and Nephthys. Isis is the light sister, or the white sister, not white as like white people, but white, the white light sister, the sister of the light. She's like a half duality. And then you got down here, you have the white Isis sitting up here, and then you have Nephthys, the dark sister, sitting down here. Basically a dichotomy, two sides of same coin or whatever. And Osiris would be represented as the light sitting in the middle. That's Osiris buried in the mental, laid out in the mental or whatever. So Isis would be on this side of him, Nephthys on this side of him, and Osiris would be in the middle. And you know, this when all that light, for each one of these lights that go up, or as these lights are traveling up here, the light down on the surface is retracted. So like I keep repeating, all this light right here traveled and retracted up into here, doing the moonwalk thing. All this light traveled to this point right here, concentrated right there, left from that point and traveled to this point, leaving particles of light seeds in between, while the water evaporated up out of it, is evaporating up, as I was showing you over here. And like I said, that process carried on until all the light was concentrated in that last ring. And this is like I said, this is the christening right here. When the light was spread across it, coming from the bottom, that's the whole thing about Christ being the Christ light being crucified on the cross. I was saying the christening, this same way when I was saying that Anubis, when they were preparing the mummy, they caressed the body with that golden sap. This is what they're referring to. The light being the Christ or the Christ, and the cross. See, that's where the whole crisscross saying comes from. The light christening the cross as it comes from the center and spreads out throughout the circumference. And then I told you when so when all that light goes up and all this light retracts to here, and when all that light goes up in here, this light shoots out, and like I said, when all that final wave of traveling light shoots out from here, from this point out, and it's like create basically a new circle. It shoots out and reproduces each one of these, and each ring, it throws out 7 more rings outside of this circle right here, and then outside of them 7 rings, you'll have your zodiac. So it'll be something like, we'll just say this is the zodiac. I got the skew, it's kind of cool. And then in between here and here, you have your 7 other rings, which is basically going to be the orbits of the planets or whatever. But once all the light retracts from here and here, all this is going to be dark, black. It's just going to be straight up. That's 8-Pap. It's going to be black with the sprinkles of basically gold sprinkles that was left behind from the light that was traveling, that ended up traveling outside the spill. It's going to leave all those granules of light, and those light particles is basically the spirit that animates everything. That's the seed, the golden seeds left within or that was buried within the melanin, or within the dirt, or within basically everything that was going to come to be, you know. So that's 8-Pap. That's the dragon of drought. When you hear them talking about the 8-Pap and the great dragon of drought or whatever, it's called the great dragon of drought because all the water is going to either be frozen down here, but all the water that was on the surface and at the top or whatever is basically precipitated out and to the edges out here and up here to create that ice dome or whatever. So there'll be no water left in there. All the water's gonna be right. It's pretty much gonna be trapped down here, frozen in the frozen within the bowels of the earth or whatever. Now, so what you'll have is these 7 circular, basically these 7 circular mountains with and where the water used to be in between them, it'd be dried out, creating canyons or valleys or whatever. So now this is where you get your Clash of the Titans story from, because you got all these mountains. Those mountains are the Titans. Now when you read, if you go check out Secret Teachers of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, he got the story in there about Bacchus and how Bacchus was they say the god, they say the Titans put a mirror in Bacchus' face, and Bacchus became so obsessed with the vision of himself or whatever, or fell in love with the vision of himself, that he merged with the he basically merged with what he saw in the mirror. And once he did that, they trapped him with the mirror. Then they broke the mirror, and they broke the mirror up and they ate him. Well, they broke him up. They broke the mirror, and then they ate all the different pieces of Bacchus up or whatever. But he was saved through the heart, which is the center point. But when he did that, they said Zeus saw this and got mad. Now, the Titans eating the pieces of Bacchus. First and foremost, the mirror, him emerging into the mirror, that goes back to when I was telling y'all the light came from the bottom and spilled over to the top and went up here, and The light went up, and then the light went straight up, and you had light that came and filled the circumference up. This is the mirror. The light traveling from here all the way to this point, breaking up or leaving little bitty sparkles or little particles of light all throughout the circumference. That represents the breaking up of Bacchus. And like they say the Titans ate them. The Titans eating the different pieces of Bacchus is basically referring to the mountains taking in the light left behind, or the light that was deposited within them. They say before they ate them, they roasted them. Or they say they boiled them, and they roasted them. Well, the boiling process is when all the light, because like I said first, all the light was at the bottom. When the light was rising up to become this right here, that's the boiling process. That's why all the water, while all the heat was coming up and going straight up here and then spilling out and going into the circumference, the separation of the light water from the dark water was the water, this right here, the water that was sitting in these basins begin to boil and precipitate or rise the same way, when you boil water in a pot, the water rises up. That's the boil. That's what they referring to when they say that they boiled them first. And then the roasting would be when all this light is retracting from here to here, as the light goes over these mountains and has contact with these mountains while it's pushing this way, it's creating a friction, a fiery friction between the light and the mountains. So that's what the roasting is referring to, or whatever. So now you had these, you got this dried out land with these 7 mountain rings sticking up out of it, and even the name Baku, Bacchus, Baku, is spelled Bacchus. Now the Clash of the Titans, that's Greek mythology. But when you go to Kemet, you have the Ba, which means the soul, and then you have the Ku, which is the Ku would be this light shade. That's what the Ku refers to. The Ku is the when you look up the symbol of the Ku, it's the fan. This is your fans right here. Remember them fans you had, the fold out fans? They be, fanning, them old ladies be fanning themselves in the church or whatever. There they go right there. Fan. You can look at that as like, say if this the fan right here, this the stick you holding with or whatever, then the same part over there, that's the Baku or whatever. So they say when Zeus saw what the Titans had did, he got mad and struck him with a bolt of lightning, and then used them and he used the pieces of them to fashion humans, to make the humans or whatever. So that way, even though they destroyed Bacchus and ate different pieces of Bacchus, by him fashioning humans out of the blood of the Titans, or out of the residue of the Titans, the humans would have the Christ in them, because that's what Bacchus represents too. It's just another Christ figure. You see his story is similar to Osiris. Osiris was broke up into 14 pieces. He was broke up by the Titans or whatever. So when they refashioned, when they made the humans, each human would have Bacchus in them, because the Titans had Bacchus in them, and the humans was made out of Titans or whatever. So the throwing the lightning is a reference to when all this light travels up and it finally comes up here. When the last bit of light travels from inside to the out, up into the dog store or whatever, the reaction to that is a lightning bolt. And actually it's a lightning bolt that comes straight down to strike this, and you have one lightning bolt coming down, and then you have a lightning bolt striking each one of these. So you have one right here, and then you have 7 more. You have one coming straight down, and then you have 7 more striking each one of the mountain miles or whatever, breaking that up. And that's when you get your call that Clash of the Titans up against the Kraken around this motherfucker. Cause you know the Kraken is the sea is basically the sea monster with all the tentacles. Well, you had that one lightning bolt coming down this way, and then the other 7 coming striking them 7 mountains would be like the tentacles. So that'd be the Kraken. And the mountains would be the Titans, like I was saying. That's where you get that's where the word titty comes from. Titty, tit on. On is like I said, another word for Anubis. Blackness. So it's basically saying the black tits or the black titties, the black each you got your 4 mile, you got your 7 circles, but then they divided by the cross, breaking them up into 4 different groups of mountains or whatever. And they shaped like breasts or titties or whatever. That's where the word titty come from, because the earth is referred to as one of the deities or the netters used to represent the earth is Hathor, the cow. What do cows feed with? They feed with the titties or whatever. So you got your 4 down, you got your looking at it from the side view, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, and you know this is just 1/2. So really it'd be you got your 4 different aspects of it when you're looking at it from a bird's eye view. But then when you look at it from the side, you got your 2. And so you got 2 different types of up here. The moon, well, first of all, we'll just say this: you got Hathor, Het-Heru, the home of Heru. The hat, this would be the top of the hat, and then when the light shoots out, it'll be like this would be the top of the hat, and then the light shooting out the sides would be like a brim. You know, look at that's like when you look at Saturn. Saturn looks like a top hat or whatever. So you have like Tiamat, the earth cow, who sits at the bottom, and then you have the milk cow, which would be the moon, and Hathor. That's the water that comes from the water that comes from the sky. Cause see what happens is, like I said, after they throw the lightning bolt, the lightning bolt comes down here, strikes this, comes down, strike through the middle of our limb. When it opens up, when the hole it creates sucks a ball of fire, which is basically gonna become the sun. It's gonna suck that from down here. Now when that comes back through here, remember this is a case of the ice stack or whatever. So when that ball of fire slide through here, it's gonna make everything happen. It's gonna come through here, and the first reaction would be snow, because you know that fire gonna hit that ice. So you gonna have the snow, and then as the fire travels down, you gonna have the rainwater or whatever coming with it or whatnot, because that, like I said, the reaction between that sun coming back down and between it coming back through coming back into the spill, reacting with that ice up there, so that's gonna cause the snow to fall, then it's gonna cause rain to fall, and then all the pieces from those mountains being struck by that lightning, there's gonna be falling everywhere. See, this is so we've been trained to look at the apocalypse and Armageddon and all that. We was looking at it based off of the way Christianity gave it to us and how they had it at the end of the Bible, and they telling you this story, or they breaking it down, and they got you thinking that this is the way the earth is gonna end. When really all that stuff they was talking about in Revelations was showing you the creation process. Don't get me wrong, it's end time event shit in it, but all the things that they talk about in regards to the destruction process, you can see was as I'm breaking down to you in these videos, was basically showing you the way the earth actually came into formation or whatever. So when you hear about the fire and brimstone, the fire is the sun coming down the center, and the brimstone would be the pieces of the titans that were struck by the lightning falling everywhere, and as the sun came down. And like I said, the sun is gonna come down here, come through this center point, and the whole while, mind you, throughout this whole process, the spear is gonna tilt the same way the earth sits on the tilt it's tilted on its axis or whatever. So I know it's straight up and down right here, but imagine it tilted or whatever, one way or the other. And so the way the flood is created is, first, when the sun is coming down this way, all the water is raining too. So by the time the sun gets right here, boom, and starts to shoot down here, all that rainwater has flooded the top and filled them the basins, or those valleys in between the mountains, flooded them up with water. That's where the whole flood story come from, by Noah and the flood and all that shit. That's what that was referring to, the flood that took place as the earth was being created. Now, when the sun comes down here and starts making this journey down here, that's when water starts to shoot up from the bottom, or coming from the base shooting up. It's gonna start to shoot up. All your like spring water in a well, like the same way you get well water, you gotta draw it up and then get it to the top, or spring water shoots up through the top or whatever. Volcanoes, all that shit go hand in hand. Because when the sun comes down here, boom, it's gonna hit that. That's where your the whole earthquake thing comes from. So that's why I'm showing you, like, all the things that we call natural or things that are considered catastrophes or natural catastrophes, as far as weather or whatever. All those are representative, or all those connect to different points or different points of creation or whatever. They all, earthquakes, fires, floods, the ice age and all that shit. That's what all that that's where all those things come from. That's why now you see them but they happen in different. You know, they happen in they basically it's not a bunch of shit happening at one time. It's, you know, it's earthquakes over here and floods over there, and it's Alaska is frozen and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, all those things are renditions of the processes that it took to create the earth itself. So, as the sun travels down here, now here's the thing. I'm not sure if I got to it in my last video, but I'll go over it again right here. If this is the center, and all 7 of these shot out and created 7 more outside the spill, and those 7 became the 7 orbits of the planet, or the orbits of the planet, or whatever. That would mean that eventually the sun would have to end up right here, because the sun, like I said, they teach it, the sun sits in the center of the solar system with the rings of the orbits of the planet outside of it, and then the zodiac outside of the 7 orbits. And the zodiacs are identified with the Titans too. They the 12 Titans, because all that light that travels from here to the border and then shoots out and then goes out into to create the zodiac. The position that those lights end up in are considered the zodiac, because it's like the light is being fed to those dark areas outside the spill. So when the stars of the zodiac go out into the travel out to end up where they're gonna be in the zodiac, that's also considered the Titans eating the fragmented pieces of Bacchus. So in so many words, the Titans consuming Bacchus is basically, to put it in a nutshell, the darkness absorbing the light, or attracting or pulling the light. So like I was saying, the sun would have to end up at this point right here. And like I was telling you, this is that light sitting in the center. When all this was frozen, or when this was an ice cap, you had Isis up here, the white sister, light sister, or whatever, and then you had Neptunes down here. That's where you get your, when they tell you about the 2 sisters that was weeping for Jesus, Martha, I think it's Martha and Mary. The weeping refers to the production of the water. Like I said, Isis produced the water from the top when the sun came back through here, and caused the rain or whatever. And then when the sun busts through here, because see, what you got to say about the sun symbolizes the resurrection of the Father. So when the Father's buried down here, the sun comes down here, boom, and basically resurrects, or begins the process of bringing everything in activity or whatever. So that's basically the Father being rebirthed as the Son or whatever. Horus, or Osiris becoming Horus. And when that light travels down here, like I said, it's gonna bust through each one of these shells or whatever. But if this is gonna be the center, if this is where the sun gonna be at, and this is the exit point of the sun in regards to the earth, that means for each time the sun hit one of these right here, the earth lifted up or whatever. So the sun would come down here, travel from this point to this point, and then well, the sun would come right here, and I guess when it hits this point right here, that's gonna create the you know, the shaking, the earthquake, or whatever. And then let me see, here, boom, come down, two. So in word, what I'm trying to say is by the sun is gonna travel through all these right here. But by the time you get to this one, the earth is gonna be raised up to the point where by the time you get to this chakra right here, this chakra will be sit in the center. So this chakra and the sun will actually meet right here. And then when they meet right here, the earth will finally lift up off of it and leave the sun sitting in the center, and then the sun will shoot off into its orbit, because they say the sun is 3 planets away from the center of the solar system, or the sun. So that means that the sun would have to travel into one of them 7 rings. I mean, the earth would have to travel into one of them 7 rings that ended up on the outside of it. So it'd have to give birth to the when the sun gets to meet up at this point right here, or this chakra right here, or whatever. They meet right here. The earth itself is gonna basically spit the sun out right here, or lift up off of it and travel into its orbit. And at the same time, the moon, or this ice dome or whatever, and remember it's slanted, this top is gonna shoot off and shoot off into its orbit around the earth. So the earth is gonna shoot to the 3rd orbit, and then the moon is gonna break off the top of that and go into its orbit, where it orbits around the earth or whatever. And that would pretty much be the birth of the sun or whatever. Now, Alpha, I was telling y'all, well, you had to go to my other channel, but when you listen to Prince, when doves cry, this shit all comes together to me, because when you read read up on the dove and the moon, the dove is a symbol of the moon. That's one of the symbols of the moon or whatever. So the dove crying when the sun comes back through here and cause that water to drip, or that rain to start to rain from the top of the dome, whatever, that would be when doves cry. And then you peep in the song, and niggas say animals strike curious poses. They feel the heat between you and me. Now I find that interesting too, because remember what I told you, everything that was being created on the surface. So all the molds of trees and people and animals or whatever, all those would be spread throughout, the surface of the earth. And it just be they'll be considered posing, because they're not living yet. They don't come alive till after the earth gives birth to the sun or whatever. So they say, touch if you will my stomach. See how it trembles inside. When that sun comes down, that great ball of fire travels through that center and hit that point right there, what it's gonna do? It's gonna cause the earth to quake or tremble. And then you got the animals, the molds of the animals sitting at the surface. They froze because they ain't alive yet. It's just the mold. They not animated shit. So it's like they posing for a picture or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what was going on in Prince's mind when he wrote that shit. But all I know is when I got to doing my work for this project right here, that shit came up, and it goes together, you know. So what else? Trying to see if there's anything else I want to hit y'all with right now at this time. Cause like I said, that would pretty much be the birth of the sun when you know, it finally comes out of this point right here. Like I said, by the time we come out of this point right here, the earth will be then lifted up to where by the time the sun gets right here, this point right here would be up, would be right here. Cause at first, when I first was trying to figure all this shit out, I just thought it came down and then just shot out, boom, and then went right here, or went to its where it was gonna be fixated at after just shoot straight down. Then I thought about them 7 rings that shot out from out here. I said, well, damn, if the sun's at the center of the solar system, that means it has to be at the center of it has to sit in the middle of the zodiac. Then somehow it has to be right, end up right here, because this is the center from where the all of those 7 rings that shot outside the earth came from. So the sun will end up with somehow have to be right there. So that's why I said, well, that means that the earth would have to be lifting up as the sun is coming down through here. And you know, that's when you get your when they say Jacob wrestled with the angel, Jacob or Yaqub or whatever, wrestled with the angel till he saw Pioneer. Well, you look at Jack, that's this is the Jacks or whatever. So I'm thinking, well, when this shit was when the sun was coming down, the earth had to be raising up or jacking up, going up as the sun was coming down, in order for the sun to end up coming from this point but ending up at the center. So and then you think about, like I said, Jack, the jack up, Jack and the beanstalk. That's where all that shit come from. Jack and the beanstalk. And then you had 2 versions of Shu, where they say Shu lifted they say he lifted the sun. They say he lifted the sun. In one story, he lifted the sun on his shoulders. And then on the other, and then another version of him, he lifted it with you know, this would be the shoulders being lifted, and then you have one where he lifted it with his rod. That's the center point lifted. So, and I gotta think, I think it was the sun. They say he lifted either the sun or earth, but when they say he lifted the sun with the wand, you can even look at that as the earth too, because if the sun coming down, when they say he lifted it up with the rod, that could be referring to the sun, the earth lifted up as the sun's going down. So it'd be like that rod is pushing the earth up from the center. So it'd be like if the sun is going up a notch, I mean, if the earth is going up a notch each time the sun goes down, it'll look as if this right here is jacking or pushing it up or whatever as the sun travels down. So and then voila, you had your sun, like I said, the earth would release the sun to that center point and then go off into its orbit, and then the top will go off to become the moon and sit in this orbit, and then that heat from the fire coming down here is what's gonna cause all the volcanoes and shit to erupt that sit at the top, and all that water that was frozen down here in those pockets, that heat from the sun coming down here is gonna melt it. So you're gonna have your ocean water that rise up too, that come from up here to become water, but then you can also have the spring water. That's why when spring water be popping out of the ground and be smoking and shit, when all that heat comes down here, it causes all that water to shoot up. And that also adds on to the flood or whatever too. And it refers back to what I was telling you about the tits or the titties or whatever. Same way you had the water falling down from the milk mother, as they call it. You got the earth mother shooting up water from the springs in the well, well, from the springs up here. And you know, you can draw well water up, but the spring water is like a natural sprouting up. So all the water that's in these pockets shoots up through there and nurtures man the same way that you know, the breast of a mother nurtures the baby, and or the breast of the cow nurtures her tits or whatever they call it, baby cows and shit. But you know, that's where and that's how the dragon of drought was the dragon of drought was drowned out by Horus, coming down as a lance or a spear, crushing the head when all that was dry and black and desolate, desert-like, which symbolizes that was one of the basically when you're speaking about drought, you're speaking of lack of having the number one thing you need, which is water or whatever. So that was always looked upon by our ancestors as a negative or evil or whatever. Not being able to nourish yourself or take care of yourself or have what you need to survive or whatever. That's why it was called the evil apap. That's one of the reasons why it was considered evil, because you know, it equated to not having what you needed to vitalize your body with, until the sun came down, came down here and caused the water to rain from the sky or rain from that ice dome and shoot up from out here. And oh yeah, when that great ball of fire slid down here, and then all the light started coming back towards the center or whatever, that force that was being exerted, so many words, it pushed all the land to the center. So all these broke up mountains, because it broke up all the mountains or whatever. But all the land, the flat land in the mountains that was left, it pushed all that to the center. Because remember, before the continents were split up, you had the Pangea. The Pangea was when the land was when all the continents was together, and then they was all connected together with all the oceans surrounding it. So that means that, and then they speak about that too, I think in the Bible. I know, get Ancient Egypt Light of the World, and make sure you get if you can get both volumes in one, because there's 2 volumes. It's Ancient Egypt Light of the World Volume 1 and Volume 2. But you can get them together, but it's 2 different books. But it's best that you get them together. I would advise you to get them both together or whatever. A lot of the things that I'm referring to, you'll see in that book. You know, cause I done you know, a lot of reading and shit. So there'd be a lot of things I see in different books or whatever that I'm referring to while I'm doing this. But if you get Ancient Egypt Light of the World Volume 1, Volume 2, and you look and you use that to reference these videos I'm doing, you will see where a lot of the things I'm coming from. Like I said, I'm gonna go back over a lot of stuff and come straight out the books with them, because uh, it's a lot of stories, mythological tales that I can use to reference these things that I'm talking about. But if you go get that Ancient Egypt Light of the World Volume 1 and Volume 2, you'll see a lot of things that I'm speaking about, and it'd be better for you to do that anyway, so you can read anyway. You know what I'm saying? Read these things for yourself. So that's one of the, which, don't get me wrong, I am gonna go back and you know, bring some scholarship to this, but at the same time, sometimes it's good. I see, well, everything has its pros and cons. I can make myself look all good, like, see, I got the book right here, and whoo, I'm reading straight from the book, which I do that too. But at the same time, while I'm sitting here kind of like freestyling it out to you, to take the load off my hands, I can just tell you straight up, just go get the books I'm talking about for yourself, which you should do anyway. It don't matter if I'm reading from the book right here or not. If I reference the book, you should go get it anyway. You know, it ain't just about you watching the video and then, oh, okay, he did that. Nah, you go do it, and then you can see these things for yourself, you know, and add on possibly. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm just giving you the basic layout, building the city right, building the providing or producing the city, and that's enough to go watch that Sambo Black Gods of Asia video on YouTube or whatever. But I was saying all that because if you get Ancient Egypt Light of the World, somewhere in there it speaks about the earth being an island. When on one hand the earth itself is an island, and the darkness of space is the dark waters. So you'll hear about the earth being an island, you know, fixated in the midst of water. But then when you come down to the inner core of the earth, the island, the original island, was the Pangea, which would be all the land masses, all the continents, when they were still fitted together, sitting in the middle of the planet with all the water outside of it. And then eventually the continents broke up or whatever and went to wherever they went. But that's the island sitting there. That was the original island, and then it broke up to all these different islands, America and Africa and Europe and all that shit, Asia, and then all the little islands or whatever. But yeah, man, that Clash of the Titan thing was pretty live right there. I liked that shit. I liked it when I put that together right there. Yeah, man, and got some more shit, man. I ain't, you know, this ain't it. I'm gonna go back and pick out some which should make it a little bit better when I can read it to you. But I'm gonna well, I got a lot of shit loaded up. It's like you know, this is just I'm just trying to get y'all familiar with the process that I'm trying to explain before I hit y'all with a few more or hit y'all with some more scholarship to correspond to these things that I'm saying. You know, and I'm really just really blowing it, you know, it's kind of a little staggery right now. I'm blowing the dust off my chops. I ain't been talking in a minute. So you know, I'm getting back used to speaking. I'm getting back used to speaking and shit. So, you know, I hope you get the picture of what the picture I'm trying to paint thus far.